So you just got a PS5, huh? Or maybe you're thinking about buying one. Or maybe you've had one since the day it came out. No matter what, you'll find something of value on this episode of the PSBlue Podcast, available everywhere. And stick around until the end because I'll tell you how you can get a free PlayStation Store credit. Here's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about the best games on the console. Is the DualSense overhyped? What SSD to buy? Upcoming games to keep an eye on. What to do with your PS4 now. The new PlayStation Plus, a breakdown. And we're going to be talking about our PlayStation 5 stories because Vinny and I both have some interesting stories with acquiring our consoles. But first, some housekeeping. If you are looking for our regularly scheduled program, it's getting pushed to episode 12 next week, where we'll talk about all the classic stuff, PlayStation news and announcements, game theories, and game reviews. So tune in for that. And with all that said, let me introduce my cousin and co-host, Vinny. How are you doing today?
Anthony, I'm doing really well. Excited to talk some PS5. It seems like the stock issues that have been plaguing the consoles are finally coming to an end. People are finally getting their hands on this truly exceptional machine. So I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's the main reason I wanted to talk now about the PS5. I mean, we've covered, obviously we cover it every week on the channel, but it is a big deal because people are finally getting their hands on it again 2 years later. It's pretty wild. But anyway, let's just dive right in, man, because we have some awesome topics here. First of all, the most important thing about the PS5, the games. So, Vinny, talk to me about the first game, and this is a list we came up with together. So, Vinny, really quickly, just talk to me about the first game that you selected for games that you need to check out on the PS5.
The first game that came to my mind when we talk about best games on PlayStation 5 console is Ghost of Tsushima. It is truly an exceptional game. I'm talking top 5 PlayStation game of all time for me personally. The PlayStation 5 brings with it the 60 FPS boost. I cannot emphasize how much of a difference that makes for this truly exceptional experience. Breathtaking graphics as well. There's upgrades to the graphics. And also, this game comes with the PlayStation Plus subscription service. So it's truly an exceptional experience. Top 5 game of maybe all time for me personally.
Wow.
Amazing combat, an amazing open world, and a really special story. So I can't recommend this game enough. Everybody really needs, if you have a PlayStation 5, and even for those of you that have played it on PlayStation 4 and maybe you got a PS5 now, it's worth replaying. It is a truly next generation leap for this game.
The PS5 version is the definitive version of Ghost of Tsushima. So check it out. I could not agree with you more there, Vinny. The game that I want to talk about, Returnal. Returnal is a little game from a studio called Housemarque. Housemarque made one of the very first PS4 games that ever came out in Resogun, and I absolutely adored Resogun. Now, this is a much more polished title. It has a skill barrier, for lack of a better phrase. This game's hard, and it's not like, you know, a little hard. It's a lot hard. Okay, this game will kick your butt over and over and over again. But when you get over those difficulty hurdles, it is truly one of the most rewarding games I've ever played. A great assortment of enemy variety. And it's a roguelite, I would say. I mean, you do make progress, so I think roguelite, you know, however you want to say it, you do make progress throughout the game. But there is some random generation in there, but it just keeps the game feeling fresh. You know, it's done very well, and I think that it's a successful sort of genre when you can do it the way that Housemarque did it. But you know, saying all that, fast, frenetic combat, like I said. Great sound design, and the graphics are second to none. This is another game that's really going to flex your PS5's capabilities. Again, PS5 exclusive. You got some really beautiful particle effects. The performance of the game meshed with the graphical fidelity is really something, in my opinion, that's next gen. So Returnal, if you're up for a challenging shooter, definitely check it out.
One thing that I do want to piggyback off of what you said about Returnal is the sound design. You said it. This game makes full use of the PlayStation 5's 3D audio capabilities. And those were touted coming into this generation, and this is the game. You play this with a headset. I cannot advise people to do that. If you're going to play this game and you want to experience the 3D audio and what it is, this feels like an actual, like, genuine horror game. The sound design is that good. You feel like you're there. It is truly an exceptional game. I can't agree anymore, but that sound design is truly next level.
It's a hard game, okay? Let's not get that twisted. You need to be up to the challenge when you play this, and you need to be up to the challenge when you play the next game I'm talking about. This is another PS5 exclusive in Demon Souls. Demon Souls is a remake of the PS3 game. Now, I played the original with Vinny, as a matter of fact. We absolutely adored the original game. But it just, we were younger and it was very difficult, okay? And the new one's no different. But it is on PlayStation Plus extra tier. So if you have that, get it. If you don't, because just download this game and look at the graphics. Because that's when I get a new console, one of the first things I want to do is see that next gen leap. And I know we've already mentioned it 15 times in the 10-minute podcast, but man, this game, the lighting effects, the animation, the resolution, detail is so good. If you are wondering, hey, really, how much more powerful is the PS5 than the PS4? Pop in Demon Souls. I am telling you right now, from a graphics standpoint, while Ghost of Tsushima might have the best art direction in a game I've ever played, Demon Souls is technically one of the best looking games I've ever seen. It looks that lifelike, especially in the lighting department. The lighting in that game is so... you just have to see it. And you can't see pictures of it. You can't watch gameplay of it because unless you're playing it on the console, you're not going to get the full effect. And then after all of that is said and done, if you're into a challenging game, if you like the Souls genre, which I love, Vinny loves, you're going to love this game. It's got all the, classic elements of a Souls game, but this is the foundation. So if you are a Souls historian, you can see the very beginnings of this genre that From literally created. This is the first one. So, I mean, if that doesn't sell you on this game, I don't know what else will. But Vinny, anything on Demon Souls?
Anthony, you said it so well. This is the game for me. If you have some friends coming over, you just got a PS5, you want to show them what this thing's capable of, I would personally put in Demon Souls. This is the game that shows exactly what this console's capable of. It was shockingly a launch game, and it is still, to this date, we're 2 years past the launch date of this console, it is still breathtaking. It honestly, every time I go into this game, it blows me away. You spoke about the graphics, sensational, but also the utilization of the SSD. Flying between, there's no loading screens at all in this game. Yeah. It is a true game changer for particularly these Souls-like games where you're going from area to area to just, we're talking seconds, like 2-3 seconds to get from one area to the next. It is a next generational leap. I couldn't agree more.
And let me say something on that point. In a game where you're dying 24/7, you need to be able to get right back into the action. So it's Returnal has this going for it as well. Like these instantaneous load ins it's one of these things that you don't realize it's a big deal until you don't have it anymore. Okay? And what I mean by that is when I'm playing a game that's a roguelite sort of like Returnal, you know what I mean, on my PS4, because I have, after having exposed myself to the PS5, like instantaneous load ins, like you don't realize how much time you spend in loading screens. And like I said, especially in these difficult games where you are getting more and more frustrated, your tolerance level for these loading screens get lower and lower the more you die. So it's just one of those things that keep you in the game. And it is, in my opinion, next gen. Now, the PS5, when you first open that thing up, other than the DualSense, which we'll get into, it's, you know, the graphics are way better, but it's not the leap that we saw from PS3 to PS4 or PS2 to PS3, but it is a really big leap.
No, I couldn't agree more. And a lot of it is how these games feel to play. This game runs at a buttery smooth 60 FPS. They also have the fidelity mode, which runs also at a shockingly high frame rate. So it's a combination of, like you said, there is a huge leap in graphics. But man, this game just feels good to play. Like it truly is next gen. I couldn't agree more, man. It really is a jump from the previous generation. This is a next gen game. This is not running on PlayStation 4. That's for sure.
And say what you want about Horizon Forbidden West being on PlayStation 4, but Horizon Forbidden West, which is the next game on the list, that game is a next-gen game, man. Same thing, graphics. I mean, really, like, okay, here's the thing about the PS5, and I know I'm getting a little off track. You're going to turn it on, you're going to go, okay, what do I play? You're going to see a lot of the same games that you saw on the PS4, but these specific games that we've sort of handpicked are going to give you that what's the word I'm looking for? Vinny, help me out here. It's you understand what I'm trying to say. What am I trying to say?
Anthony, it's that next generational leap. We all know that feeling, that special feeling that you get when you get that fresh new console. You open up that package, you're excited to see what can this thing do that the PS4, so to speak, the previous generation was not capable of. These games, man, whether they run on PS4, they run and play they're almost entirely different experiences. I'm going to be honest with you. I've played.
I agree.
Every one of these games I've played on the PS4. I've also played on the PS5. They feel totally different, genuinely. So it's exciting. It really is.
So anyway, thank you for helping me through that, because that's exactly what I was trying to say. But anyway, Horizon Forbidden West, action adventure game. Sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. If you played that, you know what you're getting into. It's just more of that, but better graphically. Again, graphics are amazing, so I'll just leave it at that. This game has a great story. This is an action adventure game. I would say it's a more polished, more well-defined Assassin's Creed type game. So if you're into that, if you've played Zero Dawn, you know what you're getting into. But more specifically, the story's amazing, and the combat. They really leveled up as far as the melee combat is concerned, because the game always had really good range combat, but the melee combat's come a long way. So it's overall just a great game, and it's definitely one you want to keep on your list. Vinny, what do you have on Horizon?
You're always going to have fun playing this game. And I think we're starting to look at Aloy and this Horizon universe, so to speak, right alongside Uncharted, Nathan Drake, God of War, Kratos. They are entering that next level of kind of iconic PlayStation characters, worlds that we love so much. Horizon Forbidden West is better in every way than the original Horizon. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is an exceptional experience and a ton of fun to play. And I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but it uses the DualSense in a lot of clever ways with the bow when you're shooting. It's truly an exceptional game. It runs amazing. And I know we're talking about every game's graphics, but boy, oh boy, this game is gorgeous. This game is stunning. Truly a work of art. So I can't recommend it enough. I'm right alongside you on this one. Go out, play this game. It is so good.
So we got a couple more games that we want to talk about, but before I do, I want to give us a little anecdote. So when Mark Cerny released the game Knack, it was a PS4 release game, and it was sort of lukewarm. It wasn't really received super great. I thought it was pretty good, but the main sort of gimmick that this game was trying to achieve was a Pixar quality movie in a video game. And I love Mark Cerny. I think he's an innovator. I think he's really just like a figurehead of the industry, especially when it comes to Sony and PlayStation. but this game did not look like a Pixar movie. I'll just come out and say it. However, Insomniac made a game that is as close to a Pixar movie that you will ever see in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This game is a character-driven shooter action adventure with a lighthearted feel, and it's a family game. Let's not get it twisted. You could play this game with your significant other. You could play this game with your children. You could play this game with your grandmother. Okay? Everyone that looks at this game and plays this game will have a fun time. The gun variety, which Insomniac is always known for, is phenomenal. The story is great. The graphics are Pixar-like. This game, and okay, here's one final thing that I must say, just to keep it simple, okay? You go through different rifts, and there's instantaneous loading when you go from one area to the next. And you're flipping through these different set pieces and landscapes with no loading, and this is something you would never ever see on any other console. It is truly next gen. This one's only on PS5. This is a game. Not only is it a next gen game that's just awesome, and oh, look at how cool this game is. It is fun, and it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's just a blast to play, Vinny. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna toss it over to you because I feel myself repeating. So go ahead,
Anthony. One word to describe Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, man, is truly jaw-dropping. Like the experience that you're gonna have when you're playing this game. We've been saying next gen. This game is not. Is not running on previous hardware. Not a chance. It is truly a stunning just achievement by Insomniac. The use of the SSD is something that we've just never experienced before on console gaming at all. And that's every console. This is something that everybody that has a PS5 needs to experience, because that's the game that you'll really, really start to realize what this console is truly capable of, particularly from that SSD standpoint. What this means for games. The way that it uses it is bar none the best way so far that we've seen with using the SSD from a gameplay standpoint and from a level design standpoint. It is truly next gen, man. It really is. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I would say we didn't really want to like number these games out because they're all different in their own way. But if you have $60, $70, and you can only buy one game, buy Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. That would be the game that I would buy first. Just saying, it's the whole package. Before we get into this last game, another bullet point we had for this podcast was: is the DualSense overhyped? I'm just gonna come right out and say it. No, it's not overhyped at all. The DualSense is amazing. And Vinny, I'm gonna give you a chance to speak. But first, why don't you tell us about the last game on our list, Astro's Playroom. It comes preloaded into your PS5, and it is a showcase on the DualSense. So walk me through Astro's Playroom, Vinny.
Anthony, these topics go hand in hand. Astro's Playroom is from the ground up built to just showcase what the DualSense is capable of. It is really, everybody that gets a PS5, you have to play this game. It's already pre-installed on the console when you get it. This game is so, not only is it showcasing the DualSense, but can I just say this real quick? The game is exceptional. It is truly, it takes about 3-4 hours to beat. Awesome level design. But the way that this game uses the DualSense and really shows what this DualSense is capable of, I think when I went into the PS5 generation, I can't speak for you, I'm hearing a lot of marketing, spiels, so to speak, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, all of these different things that the DualSense is capable of, where I'm thinking, yeah, we've heard this, pitch before. I know the Switch had haptic feedback with the Joy-Cons, and that was never really used. What does this actually mean from a gameplay standpoint? For me, going in, I was thinking this is a marketing gimmick. This isn't going to really affect the game. Dude, this thing is the best controller that I've ever used. It's not even close. I have an Xbox Pro controller. I have everything that, I've held them all, so to speak. This thing, man, the adaptive triggers are unlike, in particular for me personally, are so, it's really hard to explain. It's unlike anything that we've seen. It really is. The haptic feedback. In this game, you walk on sand as the little astrobot. You can feel the sand it genuinely feels like you're running on sand in the controller. And it'll go from the left side vibrating to the right side based on which foot is hitting the ground. It is truly, and that's just getting started. I know there's so much to this, but man, those are the two features for me in particular that stand out, are those adaptive triggers, man. I mean, when you're kind of like a slinky, so to speak, in Astra's Playroom, and you're flying around and you're really kind of pressing hard, and I don't know about you, man, I was afraid of breaking my controller at certain points because that sucker is hard to press down, that R2 button, the L2 button, when they use it. I was genuinely afraid at first. I was like, am I going to break this controller? Because I have to like really push down hard here. It is a game changer. It really is. It's not a marketing gimmick. It is unlike anything that you've ever experienced. And we're going to see these, particularly the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback. We're going to see those going forward in future generations. There's no doubt in my mind. It changes everything.
Yeah, and another recurring theme in this podcast so far is you sort of don't know what you have till it's gone. And that's a cliche, but it's true. When I go from my PS5 controller to and this is something I do. Sometimes I use remote play on my PS4. Another thing we'll get into in a sec, but sometimes I'll go straight from the living room to my bedroom where my PS4 is now. So I put the PlayStation 4 on and I play it in remote play, and if my internet's working, it works, and the controller difference is night and day. I start, for example, a first-person shooter. I was playing Far Cry 6, and I go to shoot, and it felt like I was playing with a McDonald's kids meal toy in the PS4 controller. I mean, and that's a great controller, but after playing on the DualSense, and like I said, particularly when you go straight from the DualSense back to the PS4 controller, it is such a difference. And like you said, it is hard to explain. It really is. My favorite use of the DualSense, it's an adaptive trigger feature, but it's in Returnal. Absolutely blown away. And it's such a small thing, but it made such a big impact. So in Returnal, you have you hold L2 to zoom in, and you hold R2 to shoot, right? However, you only hold R2 halfway to shoot. If you press the button down all the way on the trigger, you fire off a special missile or a special sort of attack with your weapon, and it has to recharge. But this is genius because it's two separate buttons on the same trigger. You press it halfway, and it sounds like it would be kind of annoying, but once you sort of adapt to it, no pun intended, you really start to feel like this is something special. Like, it really is special. It's two buttons in one. I thought that was really cool.
You're absolutely right, Anthony. You would think that a concept like that would get annoying. And when I played Returnal, I had the same thing. It takes a little getting used to, maybe 25, 30 minutes. But like you said, man, when you get used to it, it is unlike anything that we've ever experienced. And you would think that you would mistakenly trigger the second fire in Returnal. It doesn't happen. Like you said, it doesn't happen after about 30 minutes of getting used to. It's really unlike anything we've experienced. Absolutely, I agree.
Trust me on this. I love this console. There's not that many exclusives yet. Is it a must-buy right now? I still don't think it is. But if you are hardcore, if you are even, a casual gamer, this is such an upgrade once you get your hands on it that it's worth every penny. Okay? And speaking of penny, if you have a little extra money, you can upgrade your SSD, and you can actually buy an expandable SSD that actually has read-write speeds that are faster than the SSD on the PlayStation. So the one that we recommend, PSBlue certified, if you will, is the WD Black SN850. Now, this is very, very important. You need to get an SSD with heatsink. Otherwise, you risk damaging your console. The WD Black SN850 is actually on sale at Best Buy right now for $120 off. You get one for $149.99, 1 terabyte. You could even get a 500 gigabyte one to bring your total capacity up well over a terabyte, and that's even cheaper. That one's on sale at Best Buy right now for $94.99. If I were you, I would jump on this deal right now. I don't have an SSD yet, but I'm very much considering it. I think I might go with the 500 gig because I don't see myself needing all that space. I only play a handful of games at a time anyway, but I don't know. Vinny, talk to me about SSDs. Is this something that you are planning on getting for your PlayStation?
Absolutely. I actually might jump on this deal right now. I'll be totally honest with you. 500 gigabytes is just, in the short term, it's enough. This is not a necessary purchase, obviously. But the way that these games are creeping up in terms of size, I mean, 80, 90, some are 100 gigabytes plus. I think of Call of Duty Warzone. I'm sure a ton of people, maybe our listeners, play that game. That game is almost 200 gigabytes on console. So it's going to just absorb your space is going to run out real quick. Can be kind of frustrating, from my perspective, at least. I do play a lot of games at one time. It could be really frustrating when you only have 500 gigabytes of storage. You're going to find yourself deleting things, having to re-download things all the time. It's going to keep happening over and over again. And this was not obviously offered at launch, which is a little bizarre. But luckily, it's not going to be a problem for people that just got the console. So for those of you that are new users, you don't have to deal with the headaches, so to speak, that some of the early adopters had to deal with. And I would absolutely jump on this deal. If you have that sort of income, that exposable, spendable income, so to speak, you go out and get this, man. It's going to be worthwhile. And I'm about to jump on it myself.
Yeah, and just one quick correction there. The PS4 actually shipped, I think, with 500 gigabyte hard drive, but the PS5 actually has an 825 SSD. However, after the system settings and all the sort of necessary things to get your console up and running, you're left with about 667 gigabytes. Just so that's about what you have. You have
That's
about
right.
200 gigabytes more than you would on the PS4. So just quick correction there. But yeah, I totally agree with you. The game sizes are getting very large. So this is definitely a good purchase. And if you've already secured your PS5 by however means you managed to do that, I would say jump on the SSD right now, particularly the WD Black right now, because it is sub $100 for the 500 gig version. And the read-write speeds are very, very fast on this thing. So, you're not sacrificing anything. In fact, there are some cases where it even improves loading times. But enough on that. I want to talk about something a little bit more exciting, because you got your SSD, Vinny. Now what games are you going to fill that thing with? What upcoming games are you most excited for on the PS5? And these could be multi-platform. I'm just, specifically asking you, what game do you want to see? Let's get the obvious one out of the way, God of War Ragnarok. That's both of our, if you listen to our podcast, that's my most anticipated game. That's Vinny's 1A most anticipated game with Callisto Protocol. Did I just spoil your game? Because that might have been it. But go ahead, Vinny. What games are you excited for?
You did.
I did.
No, you're fine. I just want to say a game that I keep bringing up on the podcast. You said it. Callisto Protocol. That's number one on my list. Most anticipated game, right alongside God of War Ragnarok. Like you said, my 1A and 1B. I cannot wait for this game. Everyone should be really excited about this. This is from the director of the original Dead Space, formed a new studio. This looks like a spiritual successor to Dead Space, the one that we never really got. Dead Space 2 was good. Dead Space 3, I'm a little lukewarm on that, as I'm sure most people are. We're finally going back. It looks truly gruesome, and it looks amazing from a graphic standpoint. So this is a game that I cannot wait for. I encourage everybody, For those of you that do not know what the Callisto Protocol is, go watch a video on it. Go YouTube it. You will be blown away. I would be shocked if you're not at least excited about this game. I cannot wait to see what this game ends up being. It's truly number one on my list for most anticipated games, man. What about you? What are you excited about?
So really quickly, I just wanted to say I missed a game that already came out, Deathloop. That game is a 10 out of 10. Go play Deathloop. Just really quickly needed to say that. Okay, but with that out of the way, God of War Ragnarok. I know I just said it. This game, I've seen the gameplay. The first game is unbelievable. The first game is actually my favorite game of all time. It's unbelievable. And that's a whole nother conversation we can get into why I think that game's amazing. A game, believe it or not, that I'm actually really excited for is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Now, this is a remake of Final Fantasy spin-off Crisis Core. That was a PSP game. And it looks like it's using the same engine that we saw in Final Fantasy VII Remake. And this is particularly why I'm bringing this up is Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PS5, like Vinny had been saying, these games are completely different. That game at 60 frames is a far superior game because it kind of, Final Fantasy VII Remake I played and beat on PS4 and I love it. I absolutely love it. But you don't realize how sluggish that game is until you play it on your PS5. So I'm excited to relive sort of Zach's spin-off, if you will, story on the PS5 version of the Final Fantasy VII Remake engine. Wow, that's a mouthful, but nonetheless, you understand what I'm saying. Another Square game that I'm excited for is Forspoken. Now, that's a controversial topic on this podcast. We've been going back and forth on Forspoken, and you can listen in on some of our previous episodes if you want to know why, but it's got all the makings of a really good game. I don't know if I'm in love with the story, but I'm also very excited for that. Beyond those three games, if you include God of War, there's not really any more games coming out this year or early next year that I'm super excited for. I'm still sort of going through my backlog. And another game that I need to finish that we've covered on the podcast is Stray. And I'm very excited to play that. And then Yakuza Like a Dragon, I just wanted to shout that game out too, is amazing on PS5. Vinny, give me another game that you're excited for because I'm going in circles here.
Okay, Anthony, I'm going to do it. Are you ready? I'm going to bring up an upcoming free-to-play game on the podcast. Oh no, I know that has all kinds of negative connotations, but how do I not bring this up? Overwatch 2. This game comes out in a few months. It's a sequel to what I think is the best multiplayer first-person shooter of all time. How could you not be excited about this? Moving to a free-to-play model, I understand that people are worried about that. I think it's the right move. I think it's going to continue to be just an exceptional first-person shooter. I cannot wait for this game. I'm going to be playing it day one, nonstop. And I had to bring it up, man. I cannot wait for Overwatch 2. I really can't. And I played the beta, and it's more Overwatch. So for those that liked Overwatch like myself and still continue to like it to this day, maybe those of you that took a break from it, it might be time to come back. The game looks beautiful on PlayStation 5, or at least it did in the beta. So I can't wait. Overwatch 2, it's coming out real soon. 2 months.
Yeah, no comment on that one, Vinny.
I figured.
If you listen, I'm not a fan of free-to-play. I love Overwatch, actually. I probably have 50 plus hours in Overwatch, Vinny, believe it or not, but I'll probably check it out. That'll probably be the exception to my rule. But I'm really excited to see, like I said, there's only a few games on my radar right now, but that could all change in a week, because what we've talked about throughout this whole hour is the capabilities of this console are truly just now starting to be unlocked. Spider-Man 2 is a game that I'm anticipating. Obviously, the first game is amazing. Miles Morales also on PS5, but it's so far out there that I don't even think about it really. But we could get a game announcement at any moment. And you just always have to keep your eye out, and it's just always staying on top of the PlayStation news here, because there are games coming. Sony is making moves, and we will see a huge amount of exclusivity in the near future, specifically because we know that in Sony's fiscal reports, they're starting to retire the PS4, and they're starting to get that timeline ready of when they're winding the PS4 down. You know what I mean? Which brings me to my next point. What do you do with your PS4? Now, Vinny has something that he said he wants to do with his PS4. So, Vinny, what are you going to do with your PS4 now that you have the PS5?
Well, Anthony, let me just say this up front. The PlayStation 4 had a very weird problem when it launched. It didn't run PlayStation 3 games, which was really weird going from one console to the next. Guess what, folks? Your PlayStation 5, that bad boy runs PlayStation 4 games. So, my PS4 is probably going in the trash. I don't know. Am I bad for saying that? Should I give it to a kid, in need? I don't know anybody that needs a PS4. If you need a PS4, reach out to me.
No,
I don't know what to do with this thing.
I mean,
I don't know.
Anybody in need of a PS4, they just want a PS5 deep down. You know what I mean? They want that new console. But listen, man, that's extreme, and I know you're joking, but your PS4 still has value. And I already alluded to it earlier, but I actually moved my PS4 from my living room into my bedroom. I hooked it up as a secondary console, and that's the main console I use in my bedroom. When I'm playing a game that's turn-based, like Yakuza Like a Dragon, there's really no discernible difference. As long as my internet doesn't have any hiccups, I can play remote play on there, pause my game outside, go to the bedroom, and it actually runs well. I did not think I was ever going to use the remote play feature, but ever since I moved the PS4 into my bedroom, I've been using it so much. So you kind of have like a mini PS5 there. It's not going to run flawlessly. I wouldn't recommend playing Elden Ring or a first-person shooter like Doom Eternal on remote play, but if you're playing something casual, if you're playing something turn-based, if you're playing something that is a leisurely sort of, maybe like a sort of quote-unquote bedtime story sort of a game, because I sometimes play video games while I'm winding down before sleep, you can stream your PS5 onto your PS4. The Rumble transfers over. It's not DualSense, but you know what I mean. You get all the perks of the PS4. It's like a mini PS5. So that's what I did with my PS4. You could also throw it out, I guess, if you really wanted to, because the PS5 is amazing. And here's the God's honest truth. If I ever get another PS5, they announce a PS5 Pro or something, that PS4 is gonna get punted out my second story window. So that's just the honest truth. But don't get rid of it just yet, okay? Don't get rid of it just yet, because you can still play games, stream games with no loading screens. It's still taking advantage of the PS5 from your PS4. Okay? Yes. So I feel like I wanted to throw that in to the podcast, because I feel like it's sort of a big question mark, this remote play thing. It's not the worst. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. And it's more convenient than you think.
Okay. Don't be like me.
So we got one more topic before we talk about our PS5 stories, which I know everyone wants to hear, how we acquired our PS5s back when it was impossible to get one, right? But just before we get into that, I want to talk about the PlayStation Plus new tiered system, because I feel like it's throwing a lot of people off. I've had, comments, questions, and concerns about the new PlayStation Plus. So I just want to get it all out into the open, because maybe you're coming from Xbox. Maybe you are coming from PC. Maybe you've never had a subscription-based gaming service. So I'm going to explain this to you very simply, very easily, because it's actually not that bad of a system, and it provides a lot of value, especially if you are new to the PlayStation universe. So you have the Essential tier, which is $10 a month. And with that, you get access to online multiplayer, and you also get access to monthly games. It's usually 2 or 3 games, usually one sort of quote unquote blockbuster game and maybe another one and an indie game. But, there's some good value there. You also get exclusive discounts and some other perks along the way. Then if you go up $5, $14.99, you get to the PlayStation Extra tier. The Extra tier has everything from the Essential plus a catalog of games, very similar to Game Pass. The value proposition here is even better than the $10 a month. The reason why it might not be for everyone is because it's a lot of older games. So just be mindful of that. But the other thing to know is this is a rotating list of games. So also similar to Game Pass, which I don't know if Sony had any influence there. Obviously they did. I'm joking. There's a rotating selection of games, and that updates 2 weeks after the PlayStation Plus games of the month come out. So it's sort of every 2 weeks you're getting new games to play if you have this extra tier. So that's sort of how extra tier works. Then if you go up $3 more for $17.99 a month, you gain access to PlayStation Classics, which is PS2 games that you can download to your PS4 or PS5. There's also PS3 games on there, but keep in mind you can only stream the PS3 games similar to the PlayStation Now system, if you know anything about that. There's also game trials. So your catalog gets a little bit bigger. You add onto that PS3 games and classic games. And then you also add game trials. Now, these are selected by Sony. You could have anything from Tiny Tina's Wonderlands to a PS1 game on there. Okay? These are they're trying to put newer games on there to really juice up the service. So premium tier, it's only $3 more. And, when you combine that with the $2 here and the $4 there and the $6 there, that adds up. So really sit down and ask yourself, are you going to use streaming PS3 games? Are you going to use these game trials? Are you going to use there are more downloadable games that are added to the catalog. For example, I had premium for a month and I was playing Gravity Rush. And then when I downgraded to the extra tier, I realized Gravity Rush wasn't on there, and that's just a PS4 remastered game. So it's a little sort of weird there. It's a little fishy there. So just ask yourself, look at the catalog. Do I want to spend that extra $3? Because your money is valuable, and that $3 adds up. So that's all I'm saying with that. But that's hopefully I didn't make it more confusing. Hopefully that sort of simplified it. Vinny, do you have anything to say on the PS Plus structure?
No, I'm happy that they're offering it. For those of you that this is, for those of you listening that are new to the PlayStation 5, I cannot recommend not the premium tier, but the extra tier, that mid tier, enough. You get a few of the games that we talked about earlier in the podcast. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is on there. Death Stranding, another fantastic game. Director's Cut on the mid tier. You also get Returnal. We talked about how amazing Returnal was about, 30 minutes ago. It's an exceptional experience. Demon Souls is in that mid tier. There's actually a lot of PlayStation 5 games here that are upwards of $70 on this service. So for those that are new, I'm a little upset that this wasn't there when we started. I got to be honest with you. But man, take advantage of this thing if you're new to the PlayStation 5. A lot of you probably are. Really, at least try it for a month. I mean, the games that you get, guys, it sounds, a little confusing. I know that. It's still maybe not necessarily confusing for me anymore, but it was at first. Go get that second tier, especially if you're new to the PlayStation 5. You also get Spider-Man Miles Morales is on the mid tier. Trust me, guys, if you're new to PS5, go get this. You have a ton of games to play on this that are on the PlayStation 5, exclusive on the PlayStation 5 platform, and then have next generation written all over them. So go do it. Cannot recommend it enough.
Thank you, Vinny. And that was very well said. I totally agree. I have the extra tier as well. Like I said, I think you all could kind of tell I wasn't super high on the premium tier because I was that value pitch that I was giving. But yeah, I have the $14.99 tier as well. So the last thing I want to talk about on this PS5 podcast is our PlayStation stories. A little, story time, sort of a deal here. Because this console was impossible to get your hands on in the very beginning. But Vinny and I both managed to snag one within 6 months of the console being released. So how did we do it? Vinny got his first, so I'm going to let him talk first. But before we get into that, I just wanted to really quickly say, and this is the only time, I promise you, this is the only time you will hear me say this. If you enjoyed this podcast at all so far, please follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We are on every podcasting platform, and we just started, okay? We are on episode 12. Episode 12 is next week. So we are really trying to build a community, and I do not like doing this. I do not like asking people to subscribe. So like I said, I promise you this is the only time you will ever hear this, because I find it incredibly annoying when you go to a video and they don't stop telling you to subscribe to their channel. Duh. But I'm letting you know right now. Check out some of our other podcasts because I think they're really fun. I think there's something for everyone in there. And without further ado, Vinny, give me your PlayStation 5 story.
It was a winter evening. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to start it that way. No, man. So the way that the PlayStation 5 was revealed was that big reveal event that they had 2 years ago. And I remember I was working from home at that time and watching the reveal event. They showed that sexy console, that beautiful looking machine, almost looked like a spaceship. I remember I had like chills down my spine. And everyone I remember online was freaking out. Where do I pre-order this? It was right after that reveal event that they had. And there were no pre-orders open, so everybody had just assumed that Sony was going to open pre-orders at a later time frame, and that was it. So an hour, maybe an hour and a half, it's been so long, but it was not a long time frame. After that reveal event, Sony 100% botched the pre-order process with the PlayStation 5. And I don't know if you remembered any of this or experienced any of this, but basically, I remember I went to the gas station. I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. I went to the gas station, and I remembered it was about an hour after that reveal event. I was at the gas station filling up my gas tank, and I was on Twitter, and I saw PlayStation trending. I clicked on it, and I was like kind of getting an idea of what the community felt about the reveal event. And one little, I can't remember his name. There was one tweet that said pre-orders are available at Target right now. And I said, there's no way. And then I start seeing a few more tweets start to trickle in. It may have been Wario or Nibel, I think was it. Okay. It was like a very, it was one of those big accounts with a bunch of followers though. And I start seeing multiple people saying that pre-orders are available. Dude, I went on my phone. I have my little tiny iPhone at that time. I went to the Target website, and there it was, available for pre-order. I added one to my cart, and it took like 15 minutes to add to my cart. It was doing the little wheel icon for 15 minutes on my phone. I remember I had to leave the gas station because it was packed, and I'm panicking because I have my phone in my right hand, the wheel icon's going on, and dude, it finally took me to my cart. I immediately paid. It was one of the best days of my entire life. I got one, and then all I heard was how miserable everybody's process was. Mine was actually kind of fluid. Kind of nice. It took me about 20 minutes to get it. All it took was a little luck, a little looking at my phone, and you know what? Oh man, I got so lucky. So I really did. Now I will say this: Target kind of botched my order, but go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you, like the months that followed, did you feel like you hit the lotto or something? After seeing what happened?
I did. I was also probably the scariest 3 months of my entire life because Target would not take the money out of my account. And they said that it kept going in and out of my account over time. It happened like 8-9 times. Target had no idea what they were doing. And I didn't even get my console on day one. I ended up getting it after 2 weeks. After launch, I got my console.
Oh, you poor thing. You had to wait 2 weeks. I was crying
tears of joy, but
wow,
it was
2 whole weeks.
Yeah. It was tough. It was a tough time. What about you, Anthony? What's your story?
Yeah, mine didn't quite go as smoothly as yours went. Excuse the clickety clack here because I want to Google the exact date that I got my receipt because I just want to know how many months I waited because I know it was months. So while I sort of look this up, I'll start to get into my story. So obviously, Vinny and I are both early adopters. We're hardcore. We love Sony. I wanted the PS5 from day one. Now, I started with the PS4 Pro. I was going to buy a PS4 Pro. My PS4 is running like absolute garbage, right? It is running terribly. And I know I just talked up how having a second console is a great thing, but I couldn't deal with it anymore. The loading times were getting awful. It was just becoming an old piece of hardware. So I decided, hey, I want to get the PS4 Pro. I go to buy the PS4 Pro, and one thing led to another, and I ended up not getting it. And then they announced the PS5. So I said, okay, I got to wait now because I'm not going to buy a PS4 Pro and then buy the PS5 the second the PS4 Pro gets to my doorstep. So I waited. I waited it out, and I said, okay, great. The PS5 comes out in, when did it come out, Vinny? Like November?
Yeah, it was November.
So I was like, I'll wait till November. This was a few months prior, and I was more like everyone else trying to get their hands on a console. I could not get one. I spent a good portion of my life on that Walmart freaking loading screen, kind of like your 15-minute loading screen at Target, but I was refreshing on Walmart over and over and over and over again. And I would go to, the reason why I asked about Wario 64 is because I used to, I don't have Twitter or anything, but I would Google his Twitter account and try and follow his updates, and just, I was really waiting till midnight, waiting till just the most random times of day. I was still in school, so I had plenty of free time to figure it out. I wasn't working full time, so I had a chance, right? I had a chance to get one. I was doing stuff from home, so I remember being in class and refreshing my browser over and over and over again, trying to get a PS5 while I'm in class on Zoom. So, I did that for about 5 months, and that was the worst 5 months of my video gaming life. It was brutal.
Wow. This is really sad.
It was becoming to the point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay for a scalped console because I can't do this anymore. That my time, and we say this all the time on the podcast, our time is too valuable to behold yourself to what I was doing here, which was spending hours upon hours waiting on Walmart's, looking at the clock, 1:59 p.m. At 2 o'clock, we're dropping 100 consoles or whatever. And you couldn't get one because bots were taking them all. Okay? So, scalpers be damned. I said, okay, you know what? Whatever. Let me get a... And believe me, Vinny, I tried to get it the legit way. And I did get it a legit way. I got it on StockX. So the way that StockX works is they actually... A third party has to ship the console, and they're getting some flack for something else now, so I know the timing's not great, but my experience was fine. They ship the console to a StockX warehouse, right? StockX opens up the console, and they deal a lot with shoes and high profile items. So, but they deal in all different departments. They open the console up. They look at it, make sure it's legit, make sure nothing's ever been opened. They don't touch it. They don't open anything. Then they verify it. They seal it with one of their stickers, and then they ship it to you. So this is not like buying one on eBay. You don't know what tampering they've done with it on eBay. This is buying it from a third-party company that the person has to ship their item to, get it verified. That's why StockX... is such a big deal right now, because they verify their products. So I got pretty much a brand new PS5 that was, I guess, scalped, or, I think most of the scalped consoles went on eBay. So I probably got one from someone that was lucky enough to get a second one, and they just put it on StockX. And here's the thing about mine. The console was on sale for like $900 on StockX. And I said, I am not doing that. There is no I'm spending $900 on a PS5. So in the middle of looking for consoles to become available and sort of monitoring the price on StockX as well, because it's sort of like a stock market in that sort of way where like the price is continually fluctuating. The price went down to $700, I want to say, and I jumped on it. I said $200 of extra of my money is worth more time than I am spending trying to get this console legit on Walmart. Also, I didn't have to. There was some like tax thing where like I guess because the way it worked, I didn't have to end up paying sales tax. So sales tax would have been $35. So I took that off of the cost, and I just justified it. Okay, like I needed the PS5. It was driving me mad, and I remember I I was on my PS4 and I saw Vinny playing PS5. And I remember because like the icon, there's a little tiny icon, and it was the vertical icon, and that's how I knew it was PS5. And it said you were playing Overwatch or whatever you're playing. I don't know, you're playing something on your PS5. And I shed one single tear, and it rolled down my cheek. No, not really. But
Yeah, that was the final straw.
It was one of the final straws, I have to say. And it just like it really irked me that I had been wasting so much of my life trying to get my hands on this thing. Do I regret it? Not a single bit. Because do you know what followed? I got it in February. The price went up on StockX after that. It went back up to like $850. And for another year plus, even today, you still are hard pressed to get a PS5 console. I got it for a great price. Yes, scalped, but I needed the console. You know what I mean? For me, it was important enough to justify that little premium. And screw the scalpers, but whatever, they win, I guess, is the moral of this story. And
crazy.
Yeah.
Insane. That is just insane. I feel terrible because my experience, I felt like mine was bad. But hearing your story, I mean, man, that sounds awful. That sounds like a horrible 5 months of your life. That I could tell this is waking up some demons inside you. Like I could tell this is bringing back horrible memories they really botched the process though. It was so bad. It really was. And obviously there was problems at that point in time as well that, that were outside their control, but man, it could have been handled better. It's just the bot situation. There had to have been a better way I refuse to avoid these bots. I mean, it's crazy. And it's really sad that that's how it worked out because you're not the only one that went through that experience, I'm sure. And I'm sure people are still going through it right now. And it's just crazy. We're 2 years out and we're still kind of seeing these sort of stories, these just horrific stories about getting this console.
I mean,
and I feel so bad, man. That's terrible though. What an awful experience. My goodness.
But that's one of the reasons why I think this is the appropriate time to release an all-encompassing PS5 podcast, because people are starting to finally be able to get their hands on this thing again, which is awesome. You love to see it. But, I agree with you. The release of this console was not super smooth. I think, COVID had a lot to do with it, though. Sony did the best that they could, maybe. I mean, we don't really know, but I feel like they did a good job given the circumstances. The problem for me was the retailers allowing the scalped consoles and the bots to get through. Sony had the product that they had. They had a finite amount of consoles and a finite amount of contracts with all of these retailers, right? So, I mean, they can only do so much. So if you want to criticize their sort of queue window thing that they had, because you could buy directly from Sony, which is another thing I tried. Believe me, I tried literally everything. But, if you want to criticize that process, I'm fine with that. But I blame this more on the retailers, personally, because Walmart in particular let so many bots through. And all you had to do was get address verification and like two-step confirmation. There's a way to make this a lot more difficult. Like, yes, bots will still get through. They'll still make up phone numbers and fake addresses and what have you. But, there are ways that you could have prevented this. There are extra levels that you could take to make it less of an issue. And for me, it was in the retail department, not really Sony. That's just my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. It makes sense. For those of you listening, I want to hear some other stories about people getting their PS5s. We can't be the only ones that went through. Well, obviously, Anthony's much more depressing, much more just awful.
Yeah,
mine was bad. I was just getting
like
charged on
what
and
was
off.
Bad
Mine was just more. Yeah, mine was more of like a fantasy. Like I couldn't believe it was like a winter wonderland or something, But I want to hear some other stories. We're gonna have to. If somebody gives us their story, we got to give them a shout out on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
These stories, there are some funny stories out there about people getting their PS5s. We got to hear some of these.
Vinny, that's a great point. We will put you on the podcast. I will quote you. I will have you come on air if you really want. But just you could write your little anecdote, because I am also very curious to see sort of what everyone's experience with this was. I did want to let you know, Vinny, I just found out some dates. So the PS5 was released on November 12th of 2020. Okay? Mm-hmm. I confirmed my order on January, very late January of 21. So that's November, December, January, it was the end of January. So we're talking 3.5 months here. So I was being dramatic. It wasn't 5 months. It was 3.5 months. But it takes 3 weeks to get your console after you order it, or two weeks, I want to say. Okay, so I'm looking at the receipt right now, and it says January 28th, they sent me a receipt, order confirmation, and I got my console. It said it was going to come between February the 8th and February the 15th. I think I got it on the 10th or 11th, and I was in school a few hours away, and I had it shipped to my girlfriend's house, and I was asking her every day, did you get the PS5? Did you get the PS5? Did you get the PS5? And that was the most stress, because I'd never ordered anything on StockX, and I knew it was legit, but I was still kind of nervous, because I'm not getting it from Target or a retailer. So I was a little bit terrified, because I plopped $750 on this bad boy with shipping and everything. I think that's why I didn't pay tax, because I paid a processing fee and a shipping fee. But the purchase price that I got it at was $715. So, I was going to have to pay for shipping, I think, anyway, plus tax. So it was only a couple $100 more, maybe. And to me, that was just worth all my sanity. But, yeah, I mean, like Vinny said, tell us your stories, because we definitely want to know. And, that's all I have for this very special PS5 episode of the PSBlue Podcast. Like I said, if you liked this, we have other podcasts in our backlog, about 10 of them, maybe 11, I think, if you count Vinny's top 10. And we will be on our regularly scheduled broadcasting program next week. Episode 12, we have Vinny's For Your Consideration in Shenmue 2. We have, he'll also get a new game to play. We have a lot of news to talk about, and we're going to dive right into that next week. So just stay tuned for that, and thank you everyone for listening. Vinny?
No, I echo your sentiment there. Thanks everyone for listening this far, and we appreciate it. And give us your feedback, both good and bad. We want to hear it so we can, adapt accordingly. So thank you.
And before we go, I just wanted to let you all know, there is a PlayStation Store gift card that is still available on episode 10 of our podcast on our YouTube channel. If you go over there, you can find out how to win it, but it's still just sitting there for someone to claim. So get yourself some free PlayStation credit. Okay, have a good one and see you next time.